Bloody hell. It worked. Obviously, I've just put this engine in and edited that, just in case you didn't get that. But engine's in now. I didn't think you want to see us fit an engine again, to be honest. You've seen us pull it out, and I promise you, I put it back in. I had Chris and Spence come round, we had a few brews, a laugh, and we just bashed it in, to be honest. I didn't want to drag these videos out too much, but the engine is in, complete. The only thing I need to do now is literally put the fluids in, so coolant and oil. I've already got the spark plugs removed so that we can turn the engine over nice and freely, so we can get oil pressure before we start it up. But it's looking good, so let's get the fluids in now. New Badger 5 t-shirt. How cool is the new logo? I really like that. I really, really do. And I got this off Bill and Alex when I was down there, because they're like my little chums and stuff. And yes, I am still struggling with lighting in here. It's a nightmare, but it's just as well. My new lighting in the unit is bloody lovely. And for the oil, I use Miller's running in oil. I always use that, to be fair, all the engine builds that I do. So it's important to do the mineral oil first, and then obviously coolant, standard G12 filter, standard filter. Let's get them filled up. Now, one of the things I want to check just before I fire it over is that I've got good oil pressure, because this engine obviously suffered damage due to an oil control problem. Now, I'm pretty sure that it was the sealant, obviously, but the 2 litre TSI engines are known to have oil pump problems or pressure problems. So what I've done is I've just hooked up my oil pressure gauge here, ready for cranking. And I've got the plugs out, all the rest of it. Can you see the lights? It's friggin' ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. But disco lights aside, we're going to go for cranking. So here we go. Oh, there we go. My oil pressure gauge slipped there, like. Sweet. But I'm happy with how that cranked over and the oil pressure went straight up. So I'm going to get the plugs in and we'll get ready to fire. Thanks very much if you've joined us on this whole project. If you've liked it, then don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. This could actually be the last project that I do in this garage. I mean, I've got nothing else planned for this garage, you know, because I've got a unit now. Did you know? But yeah, there's nothing else planned for this garage, really. Obviously, I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm not going to do anything. It's going to be a nice, well, it's going to be a nice garage, you know what I mean? A nice bit of storage. But anyway, let's get on with this engine. Oh, it's ready to go. It's ready to go. So nerve-wracking, this. It's the first time I've built a 2 litre TSI engine. I have to say I've enjoyed it. I think it's good. It's a nice development on from the 2 litre TSI. And it'd be nice to even get a hold of an EA8 Gen 3 engine. I think that would be cool, because this is a Gen 1. Just to see them as well. Take them apart. I like taking stuff apart. Anyway, let's get on with this first startup. We are in the vehicle. There we go. There we go. It's quite dark in here because it's like a funky coupe, this, isn't it? You can see the lights flickering behind. I mean, how annoying. Anyway, we're in park. We're actually up on the ramp. But there we go. There's a needle sweep and exciting stuff. Already? Oh, there we go. There we go. Just keeping the revs up just for a couple of seconds. We've got an oil pressure light coming on the dash, but that's obviously because I haven't got the oil pressure switch connected. I know there's good oil pressure because I can see it. I'm just giving it some revs and monitoring the oil pressure, which is really good. Just so the engine isn't, you know, at idle. It sounds good. think I'm going to shut it off there. So now I've got the car out the garage. It's actually the next day, and I've got Chris coming round and we're going to run the engine in, so let's go for it. I just need to get the car off the drive first because it's pretty low, this car. That went off alright, that went off alright. Right. Go.
Let's do it. Sound.
Sweet.
Right. You had a DSG before?
No, no.
No, so this is new to you now, really?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, this is new.
They're all good, like. The changes are quick.
I've got this in manual mode.
I was driving my Golf on manual mode now.
Well, I want it in manual mode so I can control
the revs. That's right. So if
I allow the DSG to do it,
it changes too low.
Yeah, and it'll not help for the running.
No.
So I want to be able to control where it is for the running procedure.
Definitely.
So obviously this is the first time we're taking the car out. The car's in manual mode, so I can select gears myself. And now that the engine's being warmed up to temperature, we're going to get out and do some driving. Now, the whole process behind this is purely to get the engine under load, or load conditions, straight away. So you don't want the engine idling at all. And the whole point of the engine braking process is nothing to do with the bearings or anything, because they are what they are. You don't need to brake in a bearing, it sits on a film of oil. If there's any braking in that, well then there's something going wrong. So you know this one.
Bloody hell, black.
So anyway, yeah, the whole point of the engine braking procedure is so that we bed the rings into the cylinder walls. It's as simple as that. So in past videos you've seen us talk about the fact that the cylinder walls are rough, they're all edgy, and that's due to the honing marks. And when the rings rub up against it, you want them rings to essentially use the abrasiveness of the honing marks so that they can eventually just nice and seal together. I lost my words there.
That's why that black smoke.
It is. It's put us off, and I can't see anything. There's a Land Rover in front that's kicking out loads of smoke. The whole point of the engine braking procedure is obviously to just bed the rings into the cylinder. To do that, you need to have sort of bigger engine cylinder pressure, and you get that by sort of two things really: by making the engine work, putting it under load, but also by engine braking. Engine braking is pretty important because when you're bedding the rings in, you want that pressure, but if you're doing it with fuel, then you get the combustion, and with combustion comes heat. And what you also don't want to do is overcook the rings. You don't want to get them too hot, because if you do, again, it just affects that sealing procedure. So lots of engine braking means that you're doing it without fuel, because the engine will be on overrun, so the fuel will be gone. So you get all that cylinder pressure, you get the vacuum effect, but you get it without the heat of combustion. So for the first 20 to 30 miles we'll go out, we'll drive, we'll have lots of varied throttle response, so using the throttle right up to about 3,000–4,000 RPM, and basically have no idle, because if you have idle then there's no load. If there's no load, then you don't have the pressure, and there's no pressure, the rings don't seal. Plus I can go along, it's a 3,000 RPM.
Oh, you could start at that and just for a bit,
Yeah, but I can then drop the gear and open straight away. I'm in engine braking.
Yeah.
So I'm actually using the engine just by controlling the gears.
Yeah.
So even on a straight road, I don't have to go at the same speed at the same RPM.
No.
I can actually use the gears to, to chuck it around a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a smooth car though, isn't it?
Oh, really smooth.
I mean, we're doing 70,
obviously, aye.
And
it doesn't feel like it though, does it?
No, not at all. I really like this, like the enclosed soupiness.
Yeah.
It feels like you're in an Audi TT, doesn't it?
Does, aye.
We'll have to get a TT.
We'll have to.
Nice country roads doing now, and we live in a really good part of the country for that. Northumberland's fantastic for sort of up and down, all over country roads, so it means that we can really push the engine and not have it set at a steady state the whole time. Oh.
It's up in the box on these sort of roads.
Yeah, but it just means that I can keep the revs in that lovely 2 to, you know, pushing up the 4,000 RPM window.
Yeah.
So for the first 20 to 30 miles, just make sure the engine's under load the whole time. Use the gears. Watch out for sheep.
Aye.
And cyclists.
Aye, there's plenty of them, right?
It already feels good though. I mean, I don't want to put a dampener on it, but it feels good, doesn't it?
Feels strong, aye.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's almost like it was done properly.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, it even bombs there, doesn't it?
Aye.
Right, well that's 22 effortless miles in the bag, and the car's going absolutely class. No problems whatsoever, super smooth, and I swear you can feel the engine just freeing up, just, you know, that little bit. We're putting all that load onto the cylinder walls, and it's just doing its job, top and bottom of it, and the engine just becomes more free and free. The car pickup is a bit better, the throttle response is a bit more faster, so it's feeling really good. So I think now we'll take it and we'll go and do the first oil change. Now this oil change, we'll just put mineral oil in again, but we'll also get to have a look at what the oil is like that comes out. If there's any sort of fragments, any areas of concern, or if it really smells like burnt metal, then maybe it's going to be a bad rebuild, but shouldn't have that, to be honest. I've never had that before. You do the job properly and you end up with a proper job. So let's get back to base. Oh, we're getting to go to the unit now, don't we?
Aye, we do.
So we started this project in the garage, but we've actually got a unit now, so we'll go to the unit and we'll drop the oil there.
Definitely.
And have a cup of tea, obviously.
Obviously.
And there is a few tiny little fragments. Ignore that big bit. That's not out the engine. I think that's actually a fly. But yeah, look at that. Nice golden oil. Tiny little bits, which you would expect, but nothing major in there. So let's get fresh oil in. Quick little look too, just to make sure everything's fine, nothing's amiss. And it all looks great. So now we'll get the fresh oil in, which is going to be Miller's competition running in oil, just like before. So let's get it in. Such a pretty thing. Look how fat it looks as well on them wheels. It's dying for a big wing, isn't it? Imagine this with a big wing on the back. Woof. Decimal tenths written up the side. Right, so that's the oil changed. No problems there whatsoever. It was actually really clean. No fragments, no nothing. So now we can get out and we can do the rest of the drive. So we're at, you know, about 32 miles now on this engine. It's feeling nice and responsive. It's feeling good. But the beauty about this stage is now we can start using a bit more wide open throttle. We can take it, you know, past 4,000 RPM. Really use the engine braking. So we'll get out. We'll do a few more miles. I'm going to take this up to 100 miles before I give it back to Chris, and then we'll be done. So let's go for another little drive. You know, like driving in a manual car, you have to disengage using the clutch. Yeah. It just still feels like...
You feel like you're pressing, you want to press for the clutch?
I'm trying to press for the clutch, but I'm also, in my head I'm having to, well, I disengage and then I go into reverse and then I disengage and I don't, and you just move it, and it's that.
See, now how I feel, you know, when we're across the other week and you're saying, drop it into third, then brake harsh, then just go for it, and my head's saying, brake because you're going to crash.
Saying no.
Basically.
It's just like that, isn't it? It's learning.
It is.
Learning to drive again.
It is. It's learning something totally new.
It is.
That is plastics, like.
Aye.
Definitely.
Who would have thought I'd have to learn to drive again?
I know. At your age as well.
At my age. I'm not very good at learning at my age.
You still. I'm old, aren't you?
You're done then.
Oh, right, I am.
So that is the end of the 2 litre TSI engine rebuild. Me and Chris have just went out and put 100 miles on that car. So the first initial bit of running in, we did 20 odd miles, I think. It may have been 30, I can't remember. You'll know because you're watching it. And obviously we did that using all that engine load to force the rings in, bed them, get them in nice. And then obviously came back, changed the oil, and then went out to done another sort of 60 odd miles. We just clocked 100 miles just before we came in, and the engine is running mint, absolutely mint. So I'm really, really happy that this is the end of that project. I hope you've enjoyed watching this whole thing. So, you know, like right from the start, getting the car, diagnosing it, pulling it apart, that massive help from Alex and Bill at Badger 5 by supplying all the parts for this project. So thanks very much for that. Really, really cool that. And then obviously putting it all together, running it in. Now this car is just perfect, ready to go and finish the stage 2 mapping that was aborted. So yeah, I'm really, really happy that it's done, and I guarantee that Chris, my friend, the owner, will be too. So thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Remember to hit subscribe, give us a like, let us know in the comments if you like the project, or you know, if you want to see stuff like this in the future. We've got other projects and engine builds plus customer cars coming too. It's all go here at Decimal Tenths. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.